He may even identify himself with it and believe that he is what he appears to be.
Welcome to the NCE Study Guide. I created this study guide using ChatGPT and Notebook LM. So think of these modules as AI-powered audio flashcards. Each one of these 20 modules contains 10 mock questions representing the kind of questions that you might encounter on the National Counseling exam. I created this primarily for myself, and I decided to make these available to anyone else who might benefit from this kind of study aid. But please note, while I have done my best to ensure that these modules align with NCE content, I encourage you to cross-reference them with trusted study guides and resources for the most accurate preparation. These modules are not affiliated with or endorsed by the NBCC or any official licensing board. And an additional note for those of you tuning in for the deep meditation module. Now, I've been experimenting recently with binaural beats and different sound frequencies that entrain my neurons, and I've really been loving it. And I hope that you do too. I recommend listening to this with headphones or earbuds to get the full effect, and pay close attention to the way that this makes you feel. It's going to start with a review and a quiz from the AI study buddies at Notebook LM, and then it'll conclude with about a 25-minute deep meditation to reinforce those points. Whether you're studying for the NCE, like I still am, or you are well established in your career and you're looking for some self-care that also raises your emotional and intellectual intelligence, a few skill points, it's my pleasure to share these study modules with you. And if you find them valuable, share them with a friend and give this podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you listen. And if you'd like to reach out to me personally and say hello, you can email me at ncestudyguide@gmail.com. My name is Glenn. So, with no further ado, here are your AI study buddies from Notebook LM. Enjoy.
All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive in our NCE Deep Meditation Module series. This time, it's Module 9 out of 20.
And today, we are zeroing in on getting you prepped for the NCE, the National Counselor's Exam.
But listen, it's not all just hitting the books. We're also going to squeeze in some relaxing self-care as we dive into some core ideas in human development.
Yeah, think of it like a super focused audio guide, right? Not just to help you cram, but really get these key counseling ideas for the NCE to sink in, for real.
Exactly, we're going to be laser focused today. First up, we're going to tackle those binaural beats and neural entrainment, from Part A.
Then we'll introduce you to 3 big thinkers in the field. Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Salvador Minuchin. They're the stars of Part B.
From there, we break down every single study term from Part C so no one's left scratching their heads, and we'll use clear examples to make sure it clicks.
Then, of course, we've got to go over that 10-question quiz from Part D. But we're not just going to tell you the right answers, we're going to unpack why they're right.
And to wrap things up, we've got a guided meditation waiting for you in Part E. It's specially designed to hammer home all those study terms we cover.
It's a pretty unique approach. We're looking at the best ways for your brain to learn, introducing you to these foundational theories, diving deep into specifics, testing your understanding, and then using this really cool technique to make sure that knowledge really sticks.
Absolutely. What really sets this module apart is how we're blending NCE prep with neural entrainment. It's using sound frequencies to optimize your brain for remembering and recall.
Yeah, and as you'll see in the full module, it's a 2-phase process. First, we have a focused study session, laying out all the essential info. And then we move on to a deep meditation to really cement that learning.
Which brings us to Part A, the sciencey stuff behind how this whole auditory learning thing actually works.
All right, so let's unpack this. Neural entrainment and binaural beats.
Basically, neural entrainment is this super cool process, completely natural, where your brain waves start syncing up with external rhythms, like sound frequencies.
Think of it like this. You've got a bunch of people clapping, but they're all offbeat. But slowly, gradually, they start clapping in unison. That's kind of what happens with your brain waves and these sounds.
Right. And the cool part, it can actually improve cognitive function, boost memory, and even dial down stress. It's crazy how it works, you know.
The interesting thing is, we're not consciously forcing this syncing. The brain, it just naturally gravitates towards rhythmic patterns, and that's where those binaural beats come in.
They're like this gentle tool to guide your brain into specific states that are primed for learning and memory, which is obviously what we want for the NCE.
Now, and this is super important, gotta use headphones or earbuds for this to work right. Binaural beats happen when you play two slightly different frequencies, one in each ear, and your brain interprets this difference as a single beat.
It's that tiny difference that makes all the magic happen. And this beat, it kind of nudges your brainwave frequency into different ranges. We highlight a few key ones in the module that are super relevant for studying. First up, alpha waves. They're in the 8 to 14 hertz range.
And these alpha waves, they're linked to a relaxed focus and amped up creativity. You know, that sweet spot where you can really absorb new stuff without feeling all tense and stressed out? Perfect for those tough NCE topics.
Then we've got the theta waves, which are between 4 and 8 hertz. Now this is like a deeper chill zone, linked to memory and even subconscious learning.
Think about that moment right before you fall asleep, mind still going, but in a really receptive way. That's theta waves. This state is key for letting info stick in your memory, which is gold when you're trying to keep all that NCE material locked in for the long haul.
We also touch on solfeggio frequencies in the module. One example is 174 hertz. They've been used in sound healing for ages, linked to feeling calm and grounded.
While we're still figuring out exactly how they impact the brain, just experiencing these frequencies can make for a more relaxed, focused learning environment, which is never a bad thing when you're prepping for a big exam like the NCE.
And to bring it all back to your NCE prep, you can see how the deep meditation part, which we'll do at the end of this session, uses these frequencies strategically.
The whole idea is to take all that knowledge you're absorbing now and really make it a part of your long-term memory. And the best part, this process keeps going even when you're chilling out or even snoozing. Your brain's still working, making those connections, solidifying those pathways.
Okay, so we've got a handle on the science behind this learning method.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears to the actual content. Meet the three big thinkers whose work is so fundamental to counseling and by extension, your success on the NCE.
This part is important. Knowing the background, the people who came up with these theories, it adds another layer to understanding the concepts and how they work in the real world, which is a lot of what the NCE is about.
First up, we have Fritz Perls, a psychiatrist and psychotherapist born in Germany, lived from 1893 to 1970. He's the guy behind Gestalt therapy.
His big thing was present moment awareness, really being in the here and now, along with owning your feelings and actions and becoming super self-aware, all super important stuff for the NCE.
What's really interesting about Perls is that his ideas were a big departure from the popular theories at the time, which were all about digging into the past and the unconscious mind. He flipped the script.
Right, Perls was all about experiencing the present moment fully as the key to understanding yourself and your issues. This focus on direct experience, that's the hallmark of Gestalt therapy and something you'll want to remember for the NCE.
Next, we have Virginia Satir, a total pioneer in psychotherapy, especially family therapy. She was born in 1916 and passed away in 1988, but her impact is still huge today.
She had this really humanistic, growth-oriented approach, putting a lot of emphasis on how families communicate, building healthy self-esteem within families, and the power of truly expressing your emotions. Her work gives you a really useful lens for looking at family dynamics, which comes up a lot on the NCE.
Looking at the bigger picture, Satir's work really emphasized how interconnected families are and how an individual's well-being is tied to those family dynamics.
And her style of therapy was all about experiential stuff, building self-worth and more genuine communication within the family. All these skills and ideas are super relevant for being a good counselor, which of course ties back into the NCE.
And last but not least, we have Salvador Minuchin. He was born in Argentina, a psychiatrist and psychotherapist who lived from 1921 to 2017, and he's the man behind structural family therapy, or SFT for short.
His main focus was on how family systems are organized, looking at things like family structure, the boundaries between family members, and how power dynamics play out. Understanding the structural stuff is key to getting his approach to therapy, which, you guessed it, is frequently tested on the NCE.
One thing that sets Minuchin apart is his strategic and often very directive approach. His interventions were designed to tackle and reshape those dysfunctional patterns he saw in families.
This active, hands-on approach is what makes SFT different from some other family therapy models, and it's something you'll want to keep in mind for the exam.
Okay, so now that we've met our three superstars, let's really dig into their key study terms. These are the building blocks of their theories, and they're essential vocab for acing the NCE. We'll start with Fritz Perls and Gestalt therapy.
All right, first term up, present moment awareness. Now, this isn't just your everyday mindfulness. In Gestalt therapy, it's about actively engaging with your immediate experience, your thoughts, feelings, and body sensations, exactly as they are, no judging, no overthinking the past, or worrying about the future.
It's about focusing on the raw experience, right? Not trying to intellectualize or explain away a feeling, but just fully experiencing it in the moment. Like if someone's talking about a past argument.
Exactly. A Gestalt therapist might bring them back to the present by asking, as you're telling me this, what are you feeling in your body right now? Bringing the focus to that immediate lived experience, because Perls believed that's where the key to understanding and change lies.
Next up, we've got personal responsibility, another big one from Perls. This one stresses that we're ultimately responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions.
It's about shifting away from pointing fingers and owning your internal world. Your emotions aren't something done to you, they're your responses to what's happening around you.
This can be really powerful in therapy. It lets clients see themselves as in control of their own experiences. Instead of saying, "You made me feel anxious," which puts the blame on someone else, a Gestalt therapist might gently rephrase it as, "I feel anxious because of what happened."
Right. That small change in language highlights that the client is part of their own emotional experience. It opens up the possibility for them to explore and maybe even change how they react to things.
Okay, now for a really unique technique in Gestalt therapy, the empty chair technique. Can you walk us through how this works and what it's for?
Sure, so picture this. The therapist puts an empty chair in the room. Then they ask the client to imagine someone specific sitting in that chair. It could be someone they're clashing with, someone they've lost, even a part of themselves they've pushed away.
So they're talking to this empty chair like the person's really there.
Yeah, exactly. They have a whole conversation with this imaginary person, expressing all those bottled up thoughts and feelings, unresolved conflicts. Sometimes the therapist might even have them switch chairs, talk from the other person's perspective, creating this really intense internal dialogue.
Sounds like a pretty direct way to bring up unconscious stuff and process emotions. Could be really useful for those NCE case studies.
For sure. It's especially effective for things like grief, where someone might have unexpressed feelings towards someone who's passed away, or for dealing with anger and resentment when talking directly to the person isn't possible.
So someone grieving a parent could use the empty chair to say all the things they didn't get to say, express their sadness, their anger, even their love and gratitude.
Right, it allows for this cathartic release, a sense of closure with those lingering emotional issues.
I see. The next term, unfinished business, seems pretty connected to this empty chair technique.
Oh, definitely. In Gestalt therapy, unfinished business is about those unresolved emotions, unmet needs, unexpressed feelings from the past. Things like grief, anger, resentment, guilt, or regret. Stuff that hasn't been fully dealt with and is still impacting the person's life today.
It's like these loose emotional threads that keep getting caught on things in your current relationships and experiences. Got any clear examples of how this might show up?
Picture someone who was really betrayed in a past relationship but never fully dealt with the hurt and anger. This unfinished business might make them super suspicious and distrusting in all their future relationships, even when there's no reason to be.
They might sabotage new relationships without even realizing it, just to protect themselves from feeling that pain again.
Exactly. It's all stemming from that unresolved emotional experience.
Makes total sense. Last key term from Perls we need to cover is self-awareness. It sounds pretty straightforward, but what's the specific Gestalt therapy take on this for the NCE?
In Gestalt therapy, self-awareness isn't just about knowing yourself in general. It's this ongoing process of becoming super conscious of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors right here, right now.
So paying attention to how these internal experiences are affecting your well-being and recognizing any unconscious patterns that might be shaping your interactions and choices.
Right. Perls believed that this heightened awareness, just by itself, is often the first and most important step towards personal growth and change.
So really seeing yourself clearly in the present moment is what kicks off transformation in Gestalt therapy. What kind of techniques would a Gestalt therapist use to help clients develop this deeper self-awareness? Stuff we might need to recall for the NCE.
Well, they might encourage clients to pay attention to their nonverbal cues, like their posture, gestures, tone of voice. These can reveal underlying feelings they're not fully aware of.
They might also use techniques like exaggerating a certain behavior or emotion to really bring it into focus.
Right. And as we mentioned earlier, direct questions like, what are you experiencing right now, are essential for guiding clients to tune into their present internal state without judgment or overthinking.
Okay, that gives us a really solid understanding of Fritz Perls and those core concepts of Gestalt therapy that are important for the NCE. Let's move on to Virginia Satir and her contributions to family therapy. First up, family communication patterns. Seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it for the NCE.
Absolutely. Satir was all about how families talk to each other, both verbally and non-verbally. She noticed that in families struggling with issues, there are often these recurring patterns of unhealthy communication, like beating around the bush, pointing fingers, trying to please everyone, or avoiding important conversations.
And in healthier families, it's more open and honest, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's respectful, and they can talk about their feelings and needs without fear.
Exactly. Satir believed that fixing these communication patterns was crucial for building understanding, resolving conflict, and improving overall well-being in the family.
So it's not just about what's being said, it's about how it's said and the overall vibe of the interaction.
Right. A lot of Satir's work involved helping families identify their unhealthy patterns and learn more effective ways to express themselves, really listen to each other and validate each other's experiences and emotions, stuff that the NCE might ask about.
The next big term from Satir is self-esteem. We touched on it before, but can you expand on its role in her therapy model, especially as it relates to the NCE?
For Satir, self-esteem was everything. She saw it as the foundation for both individual and family well-being. She believed that healthy self-esteem develops when people feel genuinely valued, respected, and accepted within their family. There's this quote from her, "Life is not the way it's supposed to be, it's the way it is. The way we cope with it is what makes the difference."
That's powerful. So she believed that having a strong sense of self-worth equips us to handle life's curveballs more effectively.
Exactly. And understanding how family dynamics impact self-esteem is a big part of Satir's work that could show up on the NCE.
So a lot of her therapy was about helping people cultivate that inner sense of worth and self-respect.
Right. She helped people identify and challenge their negative self-perceptions, replace them with more positive beliefs, and feel more confident expressing their true selves.
She also helped families see how their interactions could either build up or tear down each member's self-esteem, aiming to create a more nurturing and validating family environment.
Now, one of Satir's most famous and practical contributions, and definitely something to remember for the NCE, is her 5 communication stances. You want to break those down?
Absolutely, let's hear them.
All right, so Satir observed these 5 communication styles that people tend to use, especially when they're stressed or feeling threatened within their family. The first one is placating.
Placating, okay.
It's all about trying to please everyone to avoid conflict. People who do this might agree with anything, apologize constantly, say things like, "I'll do whatever you want," even if it means sacrificing their own needs.
So they're all about keeping the peace, even at their own expense. What's a stance that's completely different from that?
Well, often the opposite is blaming. This is about attacking others, finding fault, making someone else responsible for the problems. A blamer might say, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't done that, none of this would have happened," without owning up to their part in the situation.
Okay, blaming, got it. What else?
Then there's computing. This is like being Mr. Spock, super logical and objective, using big words and avoiding all the messy emotions. Someone might say, logically the variables indicate, completely ignoring all the feelings involved.
It's all head, no heart. What are the last 2?
We've got distracting, which is all about changing the subject, cracking inappropriate jokes, anything to avoid that uncomfortable or conflict-filled topic. They might suddenly say, "Oh, look, a squirrel," or start talking about something completely random just to escape that difficult conversation.
Sounds familiar.
And last but not least, we have congruent communication. This is the gold standard, the healthy, authentic communication style Satir wanted to cultivate.
So it's about saying what you mean and meaning what you say, your words, feelings, and body language all lining up.
Exactly. Knowing these 5 stances can be really helpful for analyzing family dynamics for the NCE.
Okay, on to the next term, family sculpting. This one sounds pretty hands-on and visual.
It is. Family sculpting is this cool technique where someone, usually the person seeking therapy, physically arranges other family members in the room. They position them in a way that represents their emotional relationships and how they see the power dynamics within the family.
So they might put some people close together, others far apart, some standing tall, others hunched over. It's like creating a living, breathing sculpture of the family's inner world.
Exactly, and the therapist watches all of this. the distances, postures, the directions people are facing, to get a deeper understanding of what's going on beneath the surface, the unspoken tensions, the unmet needs. Then everyone talks about how they feel about the arrangement, which can bring up a lot of unconscious stuff.
It sounds incredibly insightful. Like if someone automatically puts their parents far apart with their backs to each other, that's a pretty powerful visual representation of a disconnect, right?
Exactly. It's a great way to bring out those unspoken dynamics, which can be really helpful for both the therapist and the family. And it's something to keep in mind for the NCE.
And the last term linked with Satir is congruent communication, which you mentioned is the ideal way to communicate. Anything else we should remember about it for the NCE?
Just to highlight again how important it was in Satir's approach. It's about that alignment where your feelings, words, and body language all send the same clear and respectful message. It's the opposite of those other 4 stances, which are often defense mechanisms, ways of hiding your true feelings and needs. All stuff that might come up on the NCE.
Okay, we've got a good grasp on Virginia Satir and her work. Let's move on to Salvador Minuchin and the core concepts of structural family therapy. First up, family structure. What exactly did Minuchin mean by this?
In SFT, the family structure is about the unspoken, often unconscious rules that shape how a family interacts. It's the established patterns of who does what, how they talk to each other, who's in charge, all that stuff. It's like the blueprint for how the family operates on a daily basis.
So it's the invisible framework behind all the interactions and expectations within the family unit. What makes a healthy family structure different from a dysfunctional one in Minuchin's model?
In healthy families, you usually see clear roles and responsibilities. Parents are generally the leaders, providing guidance and support, and kids are in a position to receive that support.
There's also flexibility, right? As kids grow up or things change, the family structure can adapt.
Exactly. Now, in dysfunctional families, things might be more blurred, it might not be clear who's responsible for what, or there might be power imbalances, like a child having too much control.
Or the opposite, where the family's too rigid, stuck in their ways, can't adapt to new situations, which leads to conflict.
Right. A common example is a child who always has to mediate their parents' arguments. That's a sign of a dysfunctional structure where the child's taking on too much responsibility. And these are the kinds of things you'll want to be able to spot for the NCE.
Next up, boundaries, another big one. We hear about boundaries a lot in psychology. What's the SFT take on boundaries that we should keep in mind for the NCE?
So in SFT, boundaries are the emotional and relational barriers between family members and also between different groups within the family, like the parents or the siblings.
Okay, so different levels of boundaries.
Right. Minuchin outlined 3 types. First, we've got clear boundaries, which are the healthy kind. They allow for close connections and support while still respecting each person's individual space and independence.
Like parents with clear boundaries might support their teenager, but also respect their need for privacy and their own decisions. Exactly.
It's about finding that balance between connection and individuality. Now, the unhealthy types are enmeshed boundaries and rigid boundaries.
Enmeshed boundaries. Those are when families are too close for comfort.
Right. There's this excessive closeness and dependence, and it can be hard to tell where one person ends and the other begins. These folks might have trouble figuring out their own feelings and needs because they're so intertwined.
Like a parent who's way too involved in their adult child's life, making all their decisions and blurring the lines of responsibility.
Exactly. On the flip side, we have rigid boundaries where there's a lack of emotional connection, very little communication. These boundaries are like walls, making it hard to get close or ask for support.
So you end up feeling isolated and emotionally distant, like a parent who's always emotionally unavailable, not responsive to their kids' needs.
Right. And often the goal in SFT is to help families move towards those clearer, more flexible boundaries.
Next term, dysfunctional family structures. We've talked about some examples, but are there any specific patterns or terms within this category that are super important for the NCE?
Definitely. Minuchin identified a few common dysfunctional patterns. One is the parentified child, where a kid has to take on adult responsibilities like caring for younger siblings or being the emotional support for a stressed out parent.
They're forced to grow up too fast.
Right. Then there's cross-generational coalitions, where one parent teams up with a child against the other parent. This can create a lot of emotional turmoil for the kid.
Like a mom always confiding in her teenage daughter about her marriage problems, creating an alliance against the dad.
Exactly. And then there's triangulation, where a third person, often a child, gets pulled into the conflict between 2 others, usually the parents. It's a way to deflect tension or avoid direct confrontation.
So the child becomes a messenger or a scapegoat in the parents' fight.
Right. And these are all patterns you'll want to be able to recognize when you're analyzing family dynamics for the NCE.
Next up, joining. This sounds like something the therapist actively does in structural family therapy.
You got it. Joining is a core technique in SFT. It's how the therapist builds rapport and becomes a part of the family system. Minuchin believed that to really help, the therapist needed to step into the family's world, become part of their interactions.
Like an undercover agent infiltrating a group.
Kind of, but with the goal of helping. He described a few parts to ginning, like tracking, where the therapist observes without jumping in right away, mimesis, where they adjust their communication style to match the families, like their tone or pace, and reframing, where they offer new ways of looking at the family's problems.
So it's about connecting before correcting.
Exactly, building that trust and understanding before guiding them towards change.
And the final key term from Minuchin is power hierarchies. What do we need to know about this for the NCE?
So, Minuchin believed that a healthy family needs a clear and appropriate distribution of power. Usually this means parents are in charge, providing guidance, setting boundaries, making the big decisions, but they're also responsive to their kids' needs.
Makes sense. Parents are the leaders, but they're not dictators.
Right. Problems happen when these power hierarchies get messed up, either too rigid or too loose, or when there are imbalances, like kids having too much power, or one parent dominating while the others checked out.
Like a teenager calling all the shots, or one parent always undermining the other's authority.
Exactly. Those are signs of a dysfunctional power hierarchy, and in SFT, the goal is often to help families find a more balanced distribution of power.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here with these study terms. Time for part D, the quiz. This is where you put all this knowledge to the test. We'll go through all 10 questions. I'll read the question and the answer choices, then we'll break down why the correct answer is right using what we've learned about these theorists and their ideas.
Okay, let's dive into the quiz. So, first question up. Fritz Perls' Gestalt therapy primarily focuses on, and then it gives us some options here. A, cognitive restructuring techniques.
Yay.
B, present moment awareness and personal responsibility.
All right.
C, unconscious conflicts and childhood experiences.
Got it.
And D, systemic family interactions and power dynamics.
Okay, so just to repeat that, Fritz Perls' Gestalt therapy primarily focuses on which one of those?
Exactly. And the answer, drumroll please, is B, present moment awareness and personal responsibility.
Yes. Gestalt therapy. It's all about being present, right here, right now.
Yeah.
Not dwelling on the past, not worrying about the future, but fully experiencing the present moment and taking responsibility for your thoughts, feelings, and actions in that moment. It's super empowering.
Yeah, I can see how that would be. Like, so much of the time we're either, regretting things that happened in the past or stressing about what might happen in the future. But Gestalt therapy is all about, like, bringing you back to the present and saying, hey, this is where you are. What are you going to do with it?
Exactly. And that can be a huge shift for people who are struggling with anxiety or depression, who are stuck in those thought patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, ready for question 2?
Bring it on.
All right, here it is. Virginia Satir is best known for her work in family therapy, particularly her focus on, and then here come the choices. A, structural interventions to change power hierarchies. B, family communication patterns and self-esteem.
Interesting.
C, behavioral reinforcement techniques in families.
Okay.
And D, addressing subconscious conflicts through dream analysis.
All right, so to repeat that, Virginia Satir is best known for her work in family therapy, particularly her focus on which of those?
Yes, and the correct answer is B, family communication patterns and self-esteem.
This makes total sense when you think about Satir's approach to family therapy. She was all about open and honest communication as the foundation for healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And she also really emphasized the importance of self-esteem, feeling good about yourself within the context of your family.
That makes sense. So she saw those two things, communication and self-esteem, as going hand in hand.
Exactly. They really build on each other. Healthy communication fosters self-esteem, and strong self-esteem allows for more genuine and open communication.
That's like a positive feedback loop.
Precisely.
Okay, question number 3. In Salvador Minuchin's structural family therapy, dysfunction often arises from, and we've got A, unresolved trauma from past generations.
Interesting.
B, distorted perceptions of self and reality.
Okay.
C, rigid or enmeshed family structures.
Interesting.
And lastly, D, cognitive distortions in family members.
So just to clarify, in Salvador Minuchin's structural family therapy, dysfunction often arises from which one of those?
Yes, and the answer is C, rigid or enmeshed family structures.
This is where Minuchin really stands out. He focused on the structure of the family, on the boundaries between family members, and how those boundaries, when too rigid or too loose, could lead to problems.
So it's like finding that sweet spot, right? Not too close, not too distant.
Exactly. He believed that healthy families had clear boundaries that allowed for both connection and individual autonomy.
I think that's such an important concept, not just for families, but for all relationships, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, on to question 4. The empty chair technique, commonly used in Gestalt therapy, is designed to help clients. Options. A, process unconscious conflicts through free association.
Okay.
B, role play and resolve unfinished emotional business.
Got it.
C, reconstruct family narratives for better communication. And D, develop structured behavioral interventions for change.
All right, so to repeat, the empty chair technique, commonly used in Gestalt therapy, is designed to help clients do what?
Do what? The answer is B, role play and resolve unfinished emotional business.
The empty chair. It's a classic Gestalt technique, It's so powerful because it allows clients to really engage with their emotions, even if the person they have those emotions with isn't physically present.
So it's like giving them a safe space to express those feelings, even if it's just to an empty chair.
Exactly. It's about bringing those unresolved emotions into the present moment and working through them. It must be really cathartic.
I bet. Okay, next question. Which of the following is not a key concept in Virginia Satir's approach to family therapy?
Okay.
Let's see, we have A, the 5 communication stances.
Right.
B, family sculpting.
Got it.
C, multi-generational transmission process.
Okay.
And D, self-esteem and congruent communication.
All right. So just to repeat that, which of the following is not a key concept in Virginia Satir's approach to family therapy?
The correct answer is C, multi-generational transmission process.
Right. And this one can be a bit tricky because Satir was definitely interested in family patterns, but her focus was more on what was happening within the current family system, not so much on patterns passed down through generations.
So it's more about the here and now, not the history.
Exactly. Her work was all about improving communication and fostering self-esteem within the family unit.
Okay, I get it. Let's move on to question 6. In structural family therapy, Salvador Minuchin introduced the concept of boundaries to describe, and we've got A, the unconscious motives that drive family interactions.
Interesting.
B, the extent to which family members are emotionally connected or separate.
Right.
C, the ways in which past experiences shape present relationships.
Okay.
And D, the reinforcement of behaviors that contribute to family stability.
So the question is, in structural family therapy, Salvador Minuchin introduced the concept of boundaries to describe what?
The answer is B, the extent to which family members are emotionally connected or separate.
Boundaries, in Minuchin's view, were all about those invisible lines that define how much interaction and emotional closeness is appropriate between family members. It's like having a healthy sense of space in a relationship,
Yeah, like not being too enmeshed, but also not completely detached.
Precisely. It's that balance between connection and autonomy.
Okay, on to question 7. In Gestalt therapy, Fritz Perls emphasized the idea of unfinished business, which refers to, and then we have A, tasks that clients have yet to complete in their everyday lives.
Right.
B, unresolved emotions from past experiences that impact the present.
Got it.
C, the lack of clear boundaries in relationships.
Interesting.
And D, dysfunctional patterns of family communication.
Okay, so in Gestalt therapy, Fritz Perls emphasized the idea of unfinished business, which refers to what?
Correct answer is B, unresolved emotions from past experiences that impact the present.
Unfinished business is all about those lingering feelings from the past, like anger, resentment, sadness, grief, that haven't been fully processed and are still affecting you in the present.
It's like they're still there, lurking in the background.
Exactly. And they can really hold you back from living a full and authentic life.
Makes sense. All right, next up. Which of the following best describes Virginia Satir's concept of family sculpting? And we've got options. A, a technique used to physically represent family relationships and dynamics.
Okay.
B, a method of challenging dysfunctional family rules through cognitive restructuring.
Got it.
C, a role-playing technique used to simulate future family conflicts. And D, a process in which family members take turns expressing grievances openly.
All right, so which of the following best describes Virginia Satir's concept of family sculpting?
The correct answer is A, a technique used to physically represent family relationships and dynamics.
Family sculpting is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like taking a snapshot of the family's dynamics and making it visible for everyone to see. It can be so insightful.
So how does it work? Like, what do they actually do?
Well, usually one family member will arrange the other members in the room, physically positioning them in ways that represent their relationships. So, like, someone who feels really close to their mom might stand right next to her, while someone who feels distant from their dad might stand far away.
Wow, I can see how that would bring a lot of things to the surface.
Absolutely.
Okay, question 9. Minuchin structural family therapy uses the technique of joining, which involves, and our options are A, the therapist establishing a strong alliance with the family system.
Okay.
B, encouraging family members to express their feelings openly.
Got it.
C, identifying and challenging automatic negative thoughts.
Interesting.
And D, teaching problem-solving skills through behavioral rehearsal.
All right, so Minuchin structural family therapy uses the technique of joining, which involves which one of those?
The answer is A, the therapist establishing a strong alliance with the family system.
Joining is all about the therapist building rapport and trust with the family. It's about becoming a part of their system, even if it's just temporarily.
So it's not like the therapist is just an outsider observing.
Exactly. They're actively engaging with the family, trying to understand their dynamics from the inside out.
I can see how that would be essential for building that trust and creating an environment for change.
Absolutely.
Okay, last question. One of the primary goals of Fritz Perls Gestalt therapy is to help clients, and we have A, develop insight into their childhood experiences.
Right.
B, identify patterns of automatic negative thinking.
Got it.
C, become more self-aware and take personal responsibility.
Interesting.
And finally, D, strengthen family structures through boundary setting.
All right. One of the primary goals of Fritz Perls Gestalt therapy is to help clients do what?
The correct answer is C, become more self-aware and take personal responsibility.
At its core, Gestalt therapy is about helping clients become more aware of their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in the present moment. And then, from that place of awareness, empowering them to make choices and take responsibility for their lives.
It's about helping them become the authors of their own stories.
Beautifully put.
That was a great review of some really important concepts. And now, as promised, we're going to move into the guided meditation from Part E of the NCE DMM-9 study guide. This meditation is specifically designed to help you really absorb the key concepts of structural family therapy.
Wonderful. I love this part.
Me too.
All right. Welcome to the meditation portion of this deep meditation study guide. My name is Glenn, and I will be guiding you through this relaxing and informative experience. So get comfortable. This meditation series has been carefully designed using powerful sound frequencies intended to entrain your neurons to simulate alpha, theta, delta, and gamma brainwave states in a specific order and duration, using binaural audio beats that follow the golden ratio pattern of relationship found throughout nature for the purpose of deep healing. This meditation has been carefully designed to reduce and transmute your daily stress, to help you prepare for the NCE, and to provide recurring self-care reinforcement through neural entrainment throughout your career in the mental health field. By the end of this meditation series, you will understand all of those words, and so much more, in ways that words alone cannot express. Sound is kind of like ping pong in a way, isn't it? Air molecules hit your eardrum, and your brain immediately transforms those impacts into words, sensations, and meaning, and feelings. Because of the carefully designed sound frequencies used in this meditation, in order to take full advantage of your brain's transformative powers,
It is important that you listen using earbuds or headphones, and that the sounds you hear right now are in your left ear only. If the sound you hear right now is not in your left ear only, change your headphones around now. Once this sound is in your left ear only, you are ready to begin to receive. Settle into a comfortable position and begin breathing deeply. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4.
In.
Keep your focus on your breath.
3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4.
So let's just dive right
Out.
into
2.
with Fritz, Perls, and Gestalt there.
4.
So the first
All right, so let's get comfortable.
3.
yeah, this is a big one.
Find a quiet spot where you won't be disturbed. Yeah, what's the quick? And if you like, close your eyes.
2.
I mean, the idea is really be here now. 4. You know,
Take a deep breath in,
experiencing this moment. Not dwelling on the past, not worrying about the future.
filling your lungs completely.
So how does that actually look?
Hold it gently for a moment.
Okay, so let's say
Release it slowly.
traumatic memory from their childhood.
Feeling any tension melt away from your shoulders, your neck, your jaw.
Therapist might ask, what are you feeling in your body right now?
Oh wow, so bringing it back to the present.
Exactly. It's about connecting.
With each breath, imagine a wave of calm washing over you, flowing down through your body, making you feel more and more relaxed. Deep breath in, and a long, slow exhale.
Now in your mind's eye, picture a doorway. This doorway is an entrance to a space of deep learning. Now in your mind's eye, information flows. Picture a doorway into your mind. Step through this doorway now with the clear. This doorway is an entrance to a space of deep learning. Family therapy, a sanctuary where information flows effortlessly into your mind.
As you stand in this space, imagine
Step through this doorway now with the clear intention of absorbing the core principles of structural family therapy.
these lines are not
Easily, completely, and with profound understanding.
As you stand in this space, imagine you are an architect,
There's other areas, maybe
holding a blueprint.
blurred or too rigid. Therapists might
This blueprint is the design of a family structure.
any resistance to learning.
See the lines representing relationships.
Adaptive family structure forming a shared anchor.
Different rooms symbolize the subsystems.
Let go of any preconceived
Notice the flow of energy and communication within the structure.
Now visualize a soft, gentle light surrounding you.
yes.
Observe the strength and stability of some areas, perhaps areas of flexibility and
Feel its
support.
pulsing presence. Beyond this light, observe 3 distinct family systems, each one demonstrating a different type of boundary.
Notice other areas, maybe where the lines are blurred or too rigid,
Imagine
creating
a
tension.
luminous, permeable membrane around each individual and subsystem, allowing for connection and support to flow freely, yet maintaining a sense of
Breathe in, and as you exhale, release any mental clutter, any
Observe a
resistance
family
to
with a
learning.
mesh boundary.
Oh, wow. And
See
I've
how
heard
the
that
lines are
sometimes you
blurred
actually
while individuals
switch
seem
chairs
overly
and sit
involved in
in
each
the
other's
other
thoughts and
chair.
feelings, where personal
Visualize now a strong, resilient, and adaptable family structure forming in your awareness.
Imagine thick, impenetrable walls between members, creating emotional distance and isolation.
A framework that
Allow
promotes
yourself
both
to sense
connection
the
and
difference, the healthy
individuality.
balance of your boundaries, the stifling closeness of enmeshment, the isolating distance of rejection.
Let go of any
Anchor
preconceived
this
notions or
understanding by
confusion.
feeling the soft golden light around you
Baggage we all
intensify,
carry.
reinforcing your comprehension
Knowing the clarity and understanding are now yours.
Now picture a stage, unresolved emotions, and on the stage, see scenes unfolding that illustrate.
Now visualize a soft, gentle light surrounding you.
First, observe a child taking on responsibilities that seem too heavy for their age.
This light represents your own personal boundaries.
Or providing emotional support to a sibling that should come from an adult.
Feel its comforting presence.
Sabotage our relationships, our careers, Now see a situation where one parent
Beyond this light, observe three distinct family systems,
secrets or forming a coalition against the other parent. This is a
each one demonstrating a different type of boundaries.
observe the imbalance.
Try to avoid or suppress
Finally,
them.
witness a scenario where
First,
two parents are
see a
in conflict.
family with clear boundaries.
And that allows you to
Perhaps
finally
asking
let
the child
go.
to take sides or relay messages.
Imagine a luminous, permeable membrane around each individual and subsystem,
To only imagine these patterns shifting towards healthier interaction.
allowing for connection and support to flow freely,
Or appropriate the cross-generational
yet maintaining a sense of separateness and individual identity.
triangulated child no longer caught in the middle as the parents communicate directly.
Next, observe a family with enmeshed
This
boundaries.
understanding is now becoming key to better
See how the lines are blurred, how individuals seem overly involved in each other's thoughts and feelings, or personal space with
You are the therapist. You sense the energy of the family before you can speak. Notice
Finally, notice a family with rigid boundaries.
that's a really great movie speaks for it.
Imagine thick, impenetrable walls between members, creating emotional distance.
Satisfaction networks family. Build trust and understanding. Begin the process of joy. The first term here is imagine yourself subtly.
Allow yourself to sense the difference, the healthy balance of clear boundaries.
You know how families talk to each other, how they
If they express strong emotions, you acknowledge them.
Stifling closeness of enmeshment, the isolating distance of rigidity.
What kind of part of their
For example,
observe
you might have a family where
building a
Anchor this understanding by feeling the soft golden light around you intensify,
an innate skill that allows you to
reinforcing your comprehension of how boundaries shape family dynamics.
visualize a grand family tree altogether, its branches representing different levels
So
of
what does
power
healthy
and authority within the
communication look
family.
like in a family?
In healthy families, see the parental branches strong and supportive.
Now picture a stage.
Clear guidance and nurturing care to the younger branches.
And on the stage,
Okay, so it's not just
family
about
trees
the
where the
words
power
you say.
see scenes unfolding that illustrate key concepts in structural family therapy.
Everyone feels heard and understood.
First, observe a child taking on responsibilities that seem too heavy for their age.
Gently, in your mind's eye,
Perhaps mediating conflicts
between balanced trees, restoring a sense of healthy hierarchy where parents are in
or providing emotional support to a sibling that should come from an adult.
children feel safe and supported within that structure. Feel it
This is a
develop a clear understanding of healthy and unhealthy power dynamics
Recognize this.
within families.
So it's not just about
This knowledge is
feeling
Now
good.
see a situation where one parent aligns very strongly
Now,
with
in
the
your
child,
mind's eye, picture a doorway. This doorway is an
perhaps
entrance to a
sharing
space of
secrets
deep learning,
or forming a
sanctuary where
coalition against the
information
other
flows
parent.
effortlessly into your mind. Step through this doorway now with the clear intention of
This is a
absorbing the core principles of
cross-generational
structural
coalition.
family therapy, easily, completely,
Observe the imbalance experience.
As you sadly believe that it starts with imagination and an architect.
Finally, witness a scenario where two parents are in conflict
design of the family
and
structure.
that helps them to develop
and pull a child into the middle.
self-worth.
Different rooms symbolizing
Okay,
subsystems.
next we have the
Perhaps
five
asking the child to take sides or relay messages.
Structure. Observe the strength and stability of some areas.
This is triangulation.
Support. And notice other areas, maybe where the lines are
See these
blurred,
dynamics clearly.
creating tension.
And now, to only imagine these patterns shifting towards healthier interactions.
To learning. Visualize now a strong, resilient, and adaptable structure.
The birthright child stepping back into a more appropriate role.
Relaxed, individuality. Let go of any
The cross-generational alliance dissolving as the parents reconnect.
Now visualize a soft, gentle light
The
surrounding you.
triangulated child no longer caught in the middle as the parents communicate directly.
Feel its comforting presence. Beyond this light, observe three distinct
Feel the sense of balance and
each one
resolution.
demonstrating intimacy, bound information. First, see a family.
This understanding is now becoming
Imagine
embedded in your memory.
a membrane around each individual and allowing
Readily accessible for your preparation.
yet maintaining a sense of separateness.
Imagine now that you were stepping into a therapy session. You are the therapist.
Lines are fluid, individuals fully involved in each other's thoughts.
You sense the energy of the family before you even speak. Notice how they position themselves where you
Creating emotional
lucid clear.
allow yourself to sense the difference, the healthy balance. Stifling
Who speaks for us?
Anchor this understanding by feeling
These are clues to the underlying structure. I like that. And you said this whole sequence is to effectively connect with this family.
Now picture a stage.
What's the trust and understanding? You begin the process of joy.
Powerful healing and grounding effects.
Imagine yourself sliding into your inner communication about creating a conducive environment. If they speak softly, your voice softens. If they express strong emotions, you acknowledge those emotions.
Now see a situation where one parent aligns very strongly with
You are not taking sides, but rather becoming a temporary part of their system.
the other parent. This is a cross-generational
Observing, understanding,
parental branch is significantly weaker, this is really the foundation of this
If they
approach.
speak softly,
Or more dominant than the other.
if they express strong emotions, you acknowledge those emotions.
Gently, in your mind's eye, begin to adjust the branches of the imbalanced trees,
Observing, understanding, building a boundary.
restoring a sense of healthy hierarchy.
That govern how the family operates.
Our parents are in appropriate leadership roles. These structures could be either functional or dysfunctional, providing security and
Functional
direction.
structure would be one that supports the
Children feel safe and supported within that structure.
Everyone has a clear role. In healthy families, see the parental
Feel a deep sense of knowing,
providing clear guidance,
clear understanding of healthy and unhealthy power dynamics within families.
Next up is
This knowledge is now integrated into your understanding, ready for recall.
Now we talked about boundaries with Satir too, but Minuchin's take might be a little different.
Yes, Satir was more
your mind's eye.
begin to adjust the branches of the imbalanced trees, restoring a sense of healthy hierarchy where parents are in
So
appropriate
for
leadership roles.
Minuchin, boundaries are about the level of
Children
emotional
feel safe and
closeness
supported.
and separation.
Now, in your mind's eye,
Feel a deep sense of
picture a doorway.
clear understanding of healthy and unhealthy power dynamics.
This doorway is an entrance to a space of deep learning, a sanctuary where information flows effortlessly into your mind.
Picture a doorway.
This doorway is an entrance to a space. Step through this doorway now with the clear intention of absorbing the core principles of structural family therapy
Clear intention of
easily, completely, and with profound understanding.
Easily, completely, and with profound. So everyone's kind of isolated.
As you stand in this space,
Imagine you were an
and both
architect.
extremes imagine you were an architect.
The goal is to find a
design of a
healthy
family structure.
Precisely.
See the lines representing relationships.
This blueprint is the design of a family structure.
Notice the flow of
Now the
energy
next
and
term is
communication within the structure.
See the lines representing relationships.
Where those unhealthy boundaries perhaps areas of flexibility or support.
Different rooms symbolizing subsystems.
Where the lines are blurred or too rigid, creating tension.
Notice the flow of energy and communication within the structure.
Mental clutter, any resistance to learning. Visualize now as
Observe the strength and stability of some areas, perhaps areas of flexibility and support.
framework that promotes both connection and
And it can have long-term
let go of any preconceived
Another example is cross-generational
clarity and
And notice other areas, maybe where the lines are blurred, too rigid, creating tension.
Creates a kind of triangle. This light represents your
And it
own personal
disrupts the balance
boundaries.
of power in the family.
Feel its comforting presence. Beyond this light, observe
And move in, and as you exhale, release any mental clutter, any resistance to learning.
First, see a family with clear boundaries. Imagine a luminous, permeable membrane around each individual.
Visualize now a strong, resilient, and adaptable family structure forming in your awareness.
Yet maintaining a sense of separateness and individual identity.
And his goal
Next,
was to help
observe a family
A
with
framework that promotes both connection and individuality.
individuals seem overly involved in each other's thoughts and feelings. Join personal
This
space
is
is limited.
really
Let go of any preconceived notions or confusion.
It sounds like imagine the therapist impenetrable walls between members.
It is.
Knowing clarity and understanding are now yours.
Allow yourself to sense the difference, the healthy balance between
Minuchin described
stifling closeness.
Now visualize a soft, gentle light surrounding you.
Anchor this understanding by feeling the soft golden light around you intensify.
This light represents your own personal boundaries.
Now picture a stage, and on the stage,
Feel its comforting presence.
key concepts of structural family therapy. First, observe the
Beyond this light, observe three distinct family systems,
This is where the therapist starts to mirror the family.
each one demonstrating a different type of boundary.
Their tone,
This is a
their pace.
Exactly. It's a way of building.
First, see a family with clear boundaries.
Oh, that's interesting. And the third step is reframing.
Perhaps this is where the therapist starts.
Imagine a luminous, permeable membrane around each individual and subsystem,
Challenge their assumptions or help them to see things in a different
allowing for connection and support to flow freely,
Okay, so joining.
yet maintaining a sense of separateness and individual identity.
It is, in a way, temporarily joining their.
Next, observe a family with enmeshed boundaries.
Okay, last term for Minuchin, power hierarchy.
See how the lines are blurred. Individuals seem overly involved in each other's
And
thoughts
how that power
personal space is limited.
Right, and Minuchin believed that healthy families have a clear and functional power
Finally,
hierarchy.
notice the family
Typically,
with
the
rigid
parents are
boundaries.
Right, they're the ones setting the boundaries and making the decisions.
But
Imagine thick, impenetrable
power
walls between
dynamics can
members,
get
creating emotional
You
distance.
might have a child who has too much power, or one parent who is overly dominant.
Or the power structure might be
Allow yourself to sense the difference, the healthy balance.
Right, there's no stability or consistency.
So the goal of therapy is to help the family to establish a healthier, more balanced power hierarchy.
Exactly where everyone feels safe and respected.
Wow, this has been a really comprehensive
Anchor this understanding by feeling the soft golden light around you intensify.
That's a lot to take in.
It is, but hopefully it gives you a better understanding of these three lambda. And they said this whole sequence is built on a
said before, her solfeggio frequencies
Perls
that
and
have
Gestalt therapy.
really
So
powerful.
the first term here is
Now, picture
present
stage.
moment
So it's not just about
awareness.
cramming information.
Yeah, this is a big one.
And on the stage,
And really for Gestalt therapy as a whole.
see
Yeah.
scenes
What's the
unfolding
quick
that
journey on
illustrate
that?
key concepts in structural family therapy.
I mean, the idea is to really be here now.
First, observe a child taking on responsibilities that seem too heavy
Not
for their
dwelling on the
age.
past, not worrying about the future,
Right.
just
Perhaps
being
mediating
present.
conflicts between parents.
So how does that actually look in like a therapy session?
Okay, so
Or providing
let's say
emotional
someone's
support
talking
to a
about
sibling that should come from
traumatic
an adult.
memories from their childhood.
Okay.
Instead of getting caught up in the details of the story,
This is a parental
Gestalt therapy. What are you feeling in your body?
Recognize this
Oh
pattern.
wow. So bringing it back to the present.
Now see a situation where one parent aligns very strongly with the child,
Physical experience and the memory in this
perhaps
way.
sharing
Oh, that's so
secrets
interesting.
or
And I
forming
think
a
there's a lot
coalition
of
against the other parent.
mindfulness practices.
Totally, that focus on non-judgmental.
This is a cross-generational coalition.
part of Gestalt therapy too.
Very cool.
Observe the imbalance this creates.
Next term for Perls, which is personal responsibility.
Another cornerstone.
Finally, witness a scenario where two parents are in conflict
It's all about owning your experience.
and pull a child into the middle. Perhaps asking the child to take sides or relay messages. This is triangulation. See these dynamics clearly. And now, don't we imagine these patterns shifting towards healthier interactions? The parentified child stepping back into a more appropriate role. The cross-generational alliance dissolving as the parents reconnect. The triangulated child no longer caught in the middle as the parents communicate directly. Feel the sense of balance and resolution. This understanding is now becoming deeply embedded in your memory. Readily accessible for your preparation.
Imagine now that you are stepping into a therapy room. You are the therapist. You sense the energy of the family before you even speak. Notice how they position themselves in the room. Who sits close? Who is distant? Who speaks for others? Who remains silent? These are clues to the underlying structure. To effectively connect with this family, to build trust and understanding, you begin the process of joining. Imagine yourself subtly mirroring their communication style. If they speak softly, your voice softens. If they express strong emotions, you acknowledge those emotions with empathy. You are not taking sides, but rather becoming a temporary part of their system. Observing, understanding,
Relationships, our careers, our overall well-being.
building a bridge of
How do you
connection.
deal with unfinished business?
Feel this ability to join with families growing within you. An innate skill that allows you to enter their world and guide them towards positive change.
And that allows you to
Finally, visualize a grand family tree.
Okay, last one.
Its branches representing different levels of power and authority within the
Yeah, I
family.
feel like all these other concepts kind of feed into this one.
In healthy families,
Self-awareness is the ability to
see the parental branches strong and supportive,
sensations as the parent present connect.
providing clear guidance and nurturing care to the younger branches.
And how do you cultivate that self-awareness?
Gestalt therapists use also now creative
Observe family trees where the power dynamics are imbalanced.
exaggerate a certain behavior,
Readily accessible
or to pay close attention to your
Perhaps the child branch seems to exert undue influence over the parental branches.
unconscious patterns
You
into
sense the
conscious
energy of the
awareness.
family, so you can start to make different choices.
Or one parental branch
That's
is
a really
significantly
great
weaker
overview of Perls and Gestalt therapy.
or more dominant
Let's
than the
move on
other.
to Virginia Satir and her work with family therapy.
Gently, in your mind's eye, begin to adjust the branches of the imbalanced trees,
So Satir was all about communication.
restoring a sense of healthy hierarchy
Right.
And she believed that a lot of problems
where parents are in appropriate leadership roles,
Like what kind of pattern?
providing security and direction,
You might have a family where everyone's really
and children feel safe and supported within that structure.
Okay.
Or you might have a
Feel a deep sense of knowing,
someone's always
a clear understanding of healthy and unhealthy power dynamics
just sweep things under the rug.
within families.
Take one more deep breath in. Hold it. And exhale slowly. As you release that breath, feel all the concepts and insights from our deep dive settling deeply into your mind, becoming a part of your understanding. With each breath you take now, you feel a sense of increasing clarity, growing confidence, and a stronger connection to these essential theories. When you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the present moment. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel the surface beneath you, and slowly open your eyes.
And as you come back to this space, feeling refreshed and alert, remember that this guided meditation is a tool you can return to again and again, strengthening your understanding of structural family therapy.
As we wrap up today's deep dive, it's so fascinating to consider how these three unique perspectives, Perls with his emphasis on the present moment and taking responsibility, Satir and her focus on communication and self-esteem within families, and Minuchin with his insightful understanding of family structures come together to provide such a rich tapestry of understanding human experience. As you move forward in your journey toward becoming a counselor, which of these perspectives resonates most strongly with you?
It's a great question to reflect on. Each of these pioneers offers valuable tools and insights, and finding what resonates with you can really shape your practice.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this approach to studying for the NCE, we encourage you to check out the full NCE DMM9 study guide for an even more in-depth exploration of these and other vital counseling concepts. And as always, we're here to support you on your learning journey. Your feedback helps us create these deep dives, so let us know what works for you and what you'd like to explore further. Until next time, happy studying, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to the NCE Study Guide. I'm Glenn. That's Jessie. She's chasing a basketball around in the swimming pool right now.
Jesse is a dog. I repeat, Jesse is a dog.
I'm in the backyard listening to one of the modules before I put the binaural beats to it. I've just run it through Notebook LM, and so I'm listening to their conversation back. And I thought maybe I'll just say something to people who are listening to this. As I mentioned, I'm creating these for myself in my own preparation for the NCEA, and everybody has different ways that they learn, so one way is not going to fit for everybody. But this has been really effective for me, and I'm also experimenting with different styles, as you can probably hear, the way that I'll do things. But one of the things I found very effective is to sit with a piece of paper and a pen and write down the key terms that I'm hearing as I'm listening to it. There's something about writing it down, I think, that engages the brain and creates neural pathways that are a little bit different than if I'm just hearing it or if I'm just reading it. So I've been experimenting with that, and also the way that I layer things during the meditation. So if anybody's wondering what I do, my process with this is I'll do a lot of research using ChatGPT and come up with these 3 pairings of great thinkers in the field, and then a sample of questions and a study guide with study terms for those questions, and then essays that help to explain those things. And then I put all of those into a Google Doc, and then I put that Google Doc into Notebook LM, and then I give Notebook LM instructions on how it is that I want them to talk about the information, what order they go in, and how they do it. And it's kind of an art form. I look at this as art that I'm creating, that then I sit and absorb to help me with my learning. And then after I get that Notebook LM recording, I'll go and I'll put in my own backtracks with the binaural beats and the different sound effects that you hear, and I'll edit things and space things out. And that process, I used to teach. I've got a master's degree in folklore and mythology from Indiana University that I got several years ago, and I was a student teacher there for a long time. And I learned that one of the ways that I absorb information is by like going over it and over it, like preparing a lesson plan and then teaching it. And so that's one of the motivations for me in creating these modules and sharing it with others. It's kind of dipping into my past experience when I taught folklore at Indiana University. And now I'm getting ready to take the NCE, and I have my master's degree in clinical mental health. Just got that yesterday, finished my program. So I'm happy to be sharing these things with you. Like I mentioned, I've set up a Buy Me a Coffee page in case anybody would like to buy me a coffee or the equivalent, send a little donation, which I would appreciate. That'd be nice. And I've also mentioned there's other projects that I do and other podcasts that I work on if anybody's ever interested in that. You can always reach out to me at the NCE Study Guide at gmail.com. And once again, I hope this is helpful for you. I just want to make it clear, these are all experiments and like works of art that I'm creating for myself and putting them out there just in the hope that it might be helpful to you. But as I mentioned in the disclaimer at the beginning, don't rely solely on this. Use this as something to enhance your study and your preparation. That's the way I'm doing it as well. So thanks again, and I'm sure I'll talk with you all later. Bye.
2, 3.
Nice to be in orbit.